Hello everyone, welcome to our amendment lecture series. You know that in direct access for November 2020 examination, there is a statutory update that is being issued by ICAI, and there are few provisions that I consider requires a little bit of explanation for your understanding. So for that particular sake, I'm making available a series of lectures on Limitless Learning YouTube channel, wherein you can watch those and then try to enhance your learning experience. So you know that there are two types of amendments applicable for the examination. One is amendments that is there in your statutory updates issued by ICAI. Also there are amendments that are made available through the end of the chapter reading, which are amendments which came in Finance Act 2019, the second Finance Act when the new government came in. That Finance Act had certain amendments, but not all the amendments are applicable for November 2020 exam. In this particular series of lectures, what you have to be careful is that if you are a student who's writing CA final, I'll recommend you to watch through the entire series of lectures, because I'm going to structure the lecture like this. See, there are amendments for CA final, there are amendments for CA inter. So both of them will have to go through the entire set of amendments, but there are certain amendments in certain chapters that is made only available to CA final. So CA inter students need not go through that. Now, how you would identify those amendments? That's why I have made a notes available to all of you, so which you can actually download from the link that I've given in the description. And in that particular link, I have also mentioned the amendments that I am covering and which one is applicable for CA final, which one is applicable for CA inter. So what I am trying to do is that in each of the series of lectures, I will first cover those amendments which are applicable for both inter as well as final. Now in the frag end, I would tell you that these amendments are applicable only for final. Then those students who are writing inter examination can stop the video from there and then start moving to the next video without hearing the balance of amendments. Okay, this is how you should go through the lectures. So as you can see it on the screen, so this study session covers those amendments which are there in goods and service tax only. So I'm not covering customs amendments in our series of lectures, which you will have to go through the material only. Okay, so whatever circular, notification or amendment happened till 30th of April 2020, that's 6 months prior to the examination, is applicable for the exam. So we are trying to go through entire set of amendments in each of the chapters. So let's look at the chapter wise understanding. Before that, there are certain amendments which practically happened, but ICAI has specifically said these amendments are not going to be applicable for the examination. Which are those amendments? We'll try to understand. In payment chapter, end of the chapter, if you look at, you do have amendments which is relating to interest on delayed payment of taxes, wherein they're saying that interest can be applied on net liability, not on your gross outward tax liability. This amendment has happened, but it is yet to be retrospective. Also, this amendment was not notified till 30th of April 2020. Thereby, this amendment, even though they had given it in the material at the end of the chapter, it is not applicable for the exam. So for us in section 50, in delayed interest payment, it will be still on gross liability. Then return and advance ruling chapter, which is for CA final, those amendments are also not made applicable for CA final. So what I'll recommend you is that don't even bother to search what was the amendment that is not applicable. Don't do that extra step. We don't have the time, so just go ahead and then ignoring those. Now let's look at what are the three amendments that has happened in supply chapter. First amendment and third amendment, both of them are applicable for both inter and final, which I'm going to cover first. Then we will go ahead with the second amendment and then try to have an understanding that is applicable only for CA final. First one, alcoholic liquor license by state government is not a supply. So they have given a notification and a circular clarification with regards to giving liquor licenses to third-party business entities by state government. Then second one is display of name. I mean on the screen you can see it as the third amendment. Display of names by donor in the premise of charitable trust is not a supply. So what you can understand is that these two were amendments for May examination as well, but it is not covered in your institute study material, that's why they have given it here, but I would like to explain it once again. The same case is with the second point that you can see here, which is applicable only for CA final, which is goods taken out of India for exhibition or on consignment basis for export promotion, and it is not a supply or a zero rated supply. So there's a clarification that is given on that. Now let's quickly jump on to each of this amendment. I do not want to take a lot of time. It will be a quick summary discussion that we are going to have, so that you can save your time and then try to appear the examination. Our focus is on the examination. We'll also try to see what kind of questions can be coming from these kind of areas. So as and when I discuss these amendments, I'll strongly recommend all of you to go through your notes that I'm making freely available, so it will be easier for you to make a proper connect to that. And for CA final students, I'm saying you that first I'm covering those chapters where both CA inter and final are applicable. So there are few videos that will be available in this particular channel, which I'll specifically mark that this is applicable only for CA final. Those videos are not going to those videos are not required for those students who are appearing for inter examination. They need not watch those. So first I'm going to cover the first 10 chapters where both inter and final amendments can be there. Okay, let's look at first one, which talks about the amendments in supply chapter. So circular 116/35/2019 dated 11th of October 2019 says GST on display of names of the donor in the premise of charitable trust receiving donation. The clarification that was sought in this particular circular is that, and we already know the difference between circular and a notification. A notification can be issued only when the parliament gives the power to the government to do so. So a notification will be referred back to some section, and those sections should specifically empower the government to notify. So you would have seen in GST Act a lot of places where they would have said that, okay, this particular section empowers the government to notify. So only in those sections government can come up with notification. Wherein circulars are just a clarification. It rather is like a opinion of the department on the provision, or they're saying legally what is that they intend to communicate. Now they cannot change a particular section by using a circular. That's not possible by the law. So the clarification they're trying to convey here is whether display of names would amount to supply of services. Here they're trying to differentiate between sponsorship or advertisement against donation. Now for an activity to be called as supply, we have already seen in section 7, you should refer to section 7. In the general definition itself, it specifically clarifies that there are two main ingredients for an activity to be a supply. One is that there should be business. Another one, there should be consideration. So they said it should be the supply should be the supply of goods or services, or both should be for a consideration. Also it should be in the course of furtherance of business. There are few exceptions to this which are given in clause B, clause C and all in section 7 subsection 1. Now here they are trying to tell you is that try to analyze when somebody is giving donation whether it would amount to a supply. The answer is no, because donation does not have a consideration. So in normal term we can say that there should be something in return that I'm going to get to be called it as a consideration, right? Okay, so when I'm providing an activity, I should get something in return. Now when I'm giving donation, do I have even an expectation that I should get something in return? There is no expectation. So the moment there is no expectation, that you're not expecting something to be given back to you, then there is no consideration for that particular activity. So a donation cannot even be a supply. So the moment an activity is not a supply, there is no question of whether it will be subject to GST or not, because it's not even a supply. So only when an activity is a supply, it can become a taxable supply. So donation is not a supply. But wherein advertisement becomes a supply. Now what's the difference between advertisement or sponsorship against this donation? So to give you a very simple example, there's a temple that I have in my hometown. It's a family temple, wherein every time there is a festival that's happening, so our family gives donation. We don't expect anything. Okay. Now sometimes, say for example, my uncle has an sole proprietorship business. So this temple committee also used to come to him and ask for some sponsorship. So what's the difference between me giving some money to the temple trust or my uncle giving some money for the charity for the sponsorship purposes. So both of these are different. One is I'm giving donation, I'm expecting nothing in return. When my uncle, who's having a supermarket, he's giving some 10,000 rupees to this festival, he's expecting there is an advertisement put on this particular festival about his shop. So are you understanding that he is expecting an advertisement to be there, and I don't expect anything? So mine is a donation, that's a sponsorship. Now in GST, sponsorship becomes a supply of service, wherein donation is not even a supply. Are you understanding the differences? Now there is a problem now. Let's say, for example, now this temple is going for renovation. Now because there is a temple renovation that's happening, this temple committee approached me and asked, like, in your family name, would you like to sponsor one of those installation that we're going to have there? Okay, so they're going to revamp the entire temple. They're going to additionally put a shed on that, and they want to install 4 pillars to it. And one of the pillars they're asking me to sponsor. They said 50,000 if you give. Okay, so we need to have, like, we're going for every family, and some family sponsoring or giving donations. So the terms can be interchangeably used. So they're asking me to give this 50,000 rupees so that they can put a pillar there. So I said, yes, I'll give you, because it's for the temple. We are ready to offer. So we offered 50,000 rupees, and they constructed that pillar there and the entire shed. So different people gave donation of that 50,000. Now what happened, which requires clarification here, is that this particular temple, after finishing this entire work, decided that to give some kind of a recognition for people who donated this money, they decided to put a marble plate on which they said this family, Lijjal's family name they have put, and that family sponsored this. Likewise, they have put a marble plate on that, and they have written their names. Or you would have seen that in multiple cases where there is a construction which is done by people support, there will be a big board in that particular building wherein they'll say that, okay, person's name, how much they donated, person's name, how much they donated. So this kind of aspect is generally applicable, and wherein people would give money and their names must be given there. Now the question is, can I classify this as sponsorship? Is it for advertisement value? Now the clarification by government says here that it cannot be classified as an advertisement. Reason being, here, for an activity to be called as supply, the supply and consideration should be having reciprocity. What do you mean by reciprocity? They said the consideration should be for the supply, or supply should be for the consideration. Now here I gave 50,000 rupees. Whether they put my name there or not, I'm going to anyway give that 50,000 rupees. So there is no obligation from the part of the recipient or the supplier, okay, to put that particular name on the name board there. So I gave that 50,000 rupees, and there is no obligation from the part of that particular trust to put my name. So irrespective of that, they'll do. But then why did they do that? They did it out of gratitude, as a measure of telling that, okay, we are grateful that you donated this money. They have done that. So this is all they're trying to clarify here. They said such display of names of the donor in the premise of charitable trust receiving donation, would it amount to a supply? They said there is no obligation on the part of recipient of the donation to do anything. It is not aimed at publicity, but rather an expression of gratitude. I want you to remember these terms. Hence, there is no GST liability. So what you can do is that go ahead and then read one question that is available in May 2020 RTP, which discusses the same point. Now let me go to the second amendment here, which is again applicable for inter as well as final. Then I'll go to the final amendment there. So here, notification 25/2019 together with notification 24/2019 in IGST. So there are two notifications which talks about it, which says services by way of grant of alcoholic liquor license is not a supply. Now section 7. Okay, I'm very sure that all of you would have gone through section 7. In section 7, there are two sections where government is empowered to notify, which is 1, section 7, subsection 2. And in my regular lectures, if you have gone through, and of course my lectures are made available even for November, but this is a lecture that I have shot in May. So if you want to go through the supply chapter before you go through this, I'll leave a link on the top, okay, which you can look at and then watch through. If you have any confusion, you can go through that. lectures. Okay, those are just a webinar recording, so you will have some technical glitches, but I hope you will sail through. Now, in section 7 subsection 2, which I used to call as exclusion subsection, so it talks about what are the items which are excluded from supply. Now in this particular section 7 subsection 2, there is clause B which says that government is empowered to exclude an activity from supply. But whose activity? Only activities of government or local authority. So when I say government, central government, state government, union territories, and local authority, panchayat, municipality, there's a list of local authorities. So these activities of them as public authority. So government, local authority, when they do an activity as public authority, in GST that's also considered to be a supply unless otherwise it is excluded. So government is given a power in this particular section that they can exclude an activity that is done by government or local authority from the entire ambit of supply. Using this power, they had one notification that was issued long back, which said that activities done by panchayat or municipality for the function entrusted to it by Constitution Article 243G, 243W. So there are a list of Schedule 11 of 243G or 243W. If you refer, there is a set of activities that is being empowered by Constitution to panchayat and municipality. Those activities were not considered as a supply. Adding to that, there is one more notification that has come, which says that services by way of grant of alcoholic liquor licenses is not a supply. So they're trying to exclude the entire aspect of alcoholic liquor from GST. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption as a goods is not a taxable good. It is a non-taxable supply, which means that it is not in the ambit of GST. They have specifically excluded in charging section that alcoholic liquor for human consumption is not subject to any of the GST taxes. So the earlier taxes were continued to be levied on that. So state excises and value added taxes is what is still continuing for alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Now, what you have to understand is that still there is a service that is provided by state governments. So if you are from Kerala, then you would know that Kerala government gives liquor licenses to different bars and then other restaurants. So these people, if they want to get a liquor licenses, they have to pay some money to the government. Now this particular activity of government will be called as services by way of giving liquor license. Now this amount, whatever, say for example, there is a bar which got the liquor license for 5 lakh rupees. It was taxable earlier, now it is excluded from supply. So they said this activity of giving liquor license is not a supply. But what about other activity? That's where the circular is important for us. There's a circular which clarifies that any activity other than this, by government or any licenses, say for example state government can give mining licenses, will that license also is exempted from the supply definition, or is that excluded from supply definition? It's not exempted, it should be the word excluded. It's not even a supply. So is it excluded from supply? The answer is no. Only liquor license is excluded. That's being clarified here. So the circular 121 clarifies that above provision is only applicable to grant of liquor licenses by state government. It is not a supply. Other licenses like mining, etc. is subject to GST, and we know that it is under reverse charge mechanism. When government is providing an activity to a or services to a business entity, it is under RCM. Other than only for 3 cases it will be under FCM. We already know this. You can look at charge provisions for understanding this. So if you are someone who's going to write for inter, I think these 2 amendments are only applicable for you for supply chapter. But if you are in CA final, I would recommend you to continue this video. Others can skip the video now. There's an additional amendment that is applicable for CA final, which has multiple impact in different areas. So I'm going to take that in total together. So it talks about goods taken out of India for exhibition outside India, or it is taken on a consignment basis for an export promotion. Say for example, there is an expo that is happening in Dubai, and an Indian seller, say located in Kochi or Chennai or Bangalore, they are taking goods outside India for showing it in the exhibition. Now the question, when I am taking these goods outside India, will that be considered to be a supply? So the clarification again comes from section 7, which gives you an understanding that for an activity to be a supply, it requires 2 things. I already told you, consideration, and it should be in the course of furtherance of business. But if there is no consideration also, this activity does not have a consideration. When I take goods for exhibition, I don't get any money, right? When will I get the money? When I make sale there. So the moment you are selling or the moment you're taking the goods outside India, you don't get the money, so it's not a supply. But you have to be very careful about Schedule 1 activity. What is Schedule 1 activity? There are certain activity which can be a supply even without consideration. So if it falls under the 4 paras of Schedule 1, then it becomes a supply. So if it is not a Schedule 1 activity, then taking goods outside India for exhibition or for export, promotion, consignment, it is not a supply because there is no consideration. So what document you will support it? You will support it with a delivery challan only. So in case of goods taken out of India for exhibition or on consignment basis for export promotion, it does not have a consideration, hence it cannot be a supply unless it is a Schedule 1 activity. So if it is not a supply, can I treat it as zero rated supply? Now only when it becomes a supply, then there is a question whether I can treat it as a zero rated supply. Now what is zero rated supply? Export and supply to SEZ. Now in zero rated supply, you can execute and let LUT, and then you can go ahead and then avail zero rated there. Okay, so you don't need to pay taxes and you can still avail ITC. All that provisions in case of import and export will be applicable there. Now since it is not even a supply, there is no question of asking whether it is zero rated supply. So there is no question of LUT to be executed. But there is another provision that will be applicable here. If you look at section 31, which talks about due date of invoices. So there is a provision which says that if I am taking goods outside my premises to give it on sale or approval basis, and I have taken a delivery challan, then there is a provision which talks about if you have to either get it back within 6 months or you should make a supply within 6 months, else your due date of invoice will become the 6 months ending date. So that provision can be applied here as well. They said if you analyze section 31 subsection 7, it says if the goods are not taken back within 6 months, it becomes a supply because you will have to issue the invoices there. So two cases can come there. One is goods are sold abroad fully or partially within 6 months. Then you will issue a tax invoice on the same. There is no problem at all. If it is not sold or it is not brought back within 6 months from the date you have taken it outside, then also tax invoice needs to be issued. So which means that if you are taking the goods within 6 months back, you don't need to issue a tax invoice, you will have to issue a delivery challan only. So at the time of taking goods abroad, it can be done with a delivery challan and no tax invoice is required if it is brought back within 6 months. So these are the 3 amendments that we do have in supply chapter. So the next video will talk about the amendments in charge chapter. Thank you.